Hello and happy Father's Day to all of you fathers out there. Today is the day that we celebrate the accomplishments and just to honor our fathers as the Bible tells us to. You know, it says that what a child is supposed to do is to honor their father and mother, and it doesn't say any stipulations. So we are here today to honor some fathers and for them to talk about uh, how they have handled or maneuvered fatherhood from their age and perspective. And some of them have been in fatherhood for a long time, and some have not been in fatherhood for a long time. Whatever the case, they have all experienced being father for the first time. And then father for over the years, and all of them have fathers. So they're going to be sharing about their fathers. So happy Father's Day to each of you. And why don't you right now in the chat room, when you make comments, why don't you go ahead and give a shout out to your father, your grandfather, because whatever man was important in your life, it may be an uncle, it may just be a man who acted in the father role for you. So go ahead and give a shout out to them and thank them for everything that they have done as for being a father. So right now, without further ado, we're going to have three generations of fathers on the day. We have my husband on, Dr. Ogletree, who I have to say is an amazing father. We are fathers of four children. I mean, he is father of four children. We are parents of four children. And I have to just say, without any reservation, he has been an excellent father. You know, when I grew up, I wanted to. You see, he's trying to get Pastor. Put your screen on mute or whatever you want to call it until you get situated, because we can see all. He's trying to maneuver to another room, guys. So please look over the picture. I don't think he can hear me either. But anyway, this technology and this is the way we're meeting today. So we're thankful to have everybody. But I want to just say to my husband, I was just giving you accolades now that you got your screen done well. We want to welcome you. And Pastor, I want to just tell you, you've been an amazing father for my four children. And I want to thank you for that. And I honor you for that today. It has not been an easy task as we talk about the three generations that you're going to see today. Fatherhood has changed over the years. We look back historically on plantations and slavery where men were encouraged to not be fathers. They would sell them off the property. They would use them to make multiple children on the plantation. They humiliated them. They put them in prison. They would not give them good paying jobs, and they made them look very weak in the eyes of their children and the eyes of their spouses, their wives, if they could even get married. So it went from that era on to, and you know, we are a product of what we came from. So then here you have our men trying to move out of that stigma into a thing of the men have a show yesterday, a conference says, I am a man. Well, when you've been made to not feel like a man and not feel like a father and feel humiliated in the mind, and now you've got to go to the next generation where you can be that father. So then you go into that generation where my father is, and he's going to talk about that from his generation. And then you go on to the generation that my husband is, which is starting into education and integration and all of those things of quote unquote equity, on into down to my sons, who are the beneficiaries of so much that has been sacrificed by the generations of my father and my husband. So what I'm going to do, my father's getting set up now. So we're just so happy to have him. And like I said, we have three generations on here. Well, really, if the kids get on here, then it's going to be four generations, because I asked the grandsons to watch too. They are our future. And so we've got four grandsons and no, five. We have five grandsons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. And four of them carry the name of Ogletree. So we are blessed to have four young men to carry on the name. So what I want to do, first of all, is I want to introduce, hi, Daddy. Say hello, you're muted. And if you'll pull your computer a little bit forward, because I can barely see the top of your head, just pull it forward a little bit. Okay, pull the top screen. Yeah, up a little bit, right there, right there. Perfect, perfect. Okay, so how you doing, Daddy? You doing okay? Unmute yourself, there you go.
Huh?
Well, hello.
Hi.
Are you my daddy?
You can't hear me?
I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Okay. Okay, howdy.
Are you my daddy?
Right now I am.
All right, all right. We want to turn that volume up a little bit more, if you can. I can barely hear you, but I can't hear you, but you can just turn it up just a little bit more.
Okay, how's that?
Okay, that's much better. Now, Daddy, I was just telling about the generations of fatherhood. And so I want to get started with you first, because I learned something the other day that I've been talking to you for many years, but I really didn't know about your experience from your models and your mentors as fathers. And so I understood just this past week that you didn't get a chance to meet your father until you were a grown man. And the same thing with me. I knew you, but I really didn't get to know you until I was a real grown woman. So I guess the first question I would ask you is, what was fatherhood like for you when you became a father?
Well, I became a father. It was kind of nerve-wracking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, me being a father was nerve-wracking. In the first place, I didn't know how.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first
Is that
place.
volume good, Johnny?
Huh?
Okay, good. I was trying to make sure your volume's good.
Do what, baby?
I said, go ahead, you're doing good.
Yeah, I didn't know how. And even though I was grateful to be a father, I didn't know nothing about it being a father because I was never taught fatherhood,
Mm-hmm.
because I was never around my father, but I was there with a stepfather.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think you want to listen to all that, but that wasn't really good. Listen to me, Evelyn.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about fatherhood. That wasn't very good, I thought. Now I'm going to go somewhere with this.
Okay.
But after I got grown and started maturing and got out on my own, I think it was the best thing ever happened to me.
Mm.
Because we have too many men in the homes who would want to be friends to their sons rather than be fathers. And that's one of the problems, my own opinion, that's one of the problems that we have today in this world, is too many, I call them daddies, they're not fathers, wanting to be friends with a son.
Okay.
I have a book that I like to read. I do a lot of studying, but I like to read, and that's Solomon. I love to read Solomon. And when you ask me questions about daddy, that's the first thing I thought about. One of the things Solomon said to his son, he said, "Give me your heart, son. Give me your heart. I want your heart. Because I want to do something with your heart. But in giving me your heart and to get what I got for you, you got to watch me."
Mm-hmm.
Now, the question is, the young man that's coming up today, if he watches his father, what does he see?
Hmm.
Are you there?
Yeah, she's still there. She had to step
I'm
away.
here. I had to step away. I can still hear you. Go ahead. What does
Yeah,
he see?
the young man in this day, if he watch his father, the average young man in this day, if he watch his father, what will he see?
Hmm. That's a good question. That's a good question. And so I know when you were growing up, and most of us learn by what we see. And so, like I said, we won't go into the stories of your stepfather, but it was not a good time. I know you've told me that. So what you saw from the stepfather's perspective of fathering was not what you needed to do as a father.
But hold it, Evelyn.
Go ahead.
That's what made me the man that I am.
Okay.
In other words, what I'm saying is, some so-called fathers, back to what I said a few moments ago, they want to be friends with little Johnny.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want little Johnny to have no hard time. They want to give little Johnny everything that they think that little Johnny should have.
Mm-hmm.
It will not work, Evelyn.
Okay.
It does not work.
Right. So you're saying,
I said it a few moments ago, and I hope you get it. I wouldn't be the man that I am if it wasn't for my father. Now listen to this. After meeting my father.
and you met your father at what age? Tell that.
I met my father at age 22.
Okay.
And after meeting my father, a few years, I wish I hadn't met him.
Mm. Why is that?
I love my stepdaddy right now better than I do my father.
Wow.
Right
Even
now.
though he was really mean to you and those kind of things.
I thought he was mean. He was not mean, Evelyn.
Okay. You thought he was mean. That's why I want my grandchildren on here to hear this. Because your father's not being mean to you. He's trying to make you a man.
He made me a man.
Yeah.
Let me tell you this. We had a man named Buddy Golden.
Yeah.
Lived right across the field from us. Did you ever know the Goldens?
Yeah, I do. We have some here in Houston.
Well, he told me one day in the field, I told him, I said, Mr. Buddy, when I get grown, I said, I'm gonna buy me a brick home. We lived in a shack.
Mm-hmm.
He said, Bo, that's what they called me. You ain't gonna be a so-and-so thing.
Mm.
He lived to be 96 years old. The last year he lived, I went to see him, and he was sitting out there under the tree, twiddling his thumbs. And I said, how you, Mr. Buddy? I got out of my car, make a long story short. He said, I'm doing good, boy. I said, do you know who I am? He said, hell yeah. He said, you beautiful lady. Yeah, I know you. And he said, you know something, boy? I said, no, sir. He said, babe, that was my stepdaddy, named Pedro. He said, babe made a man out of you.
Okay.
As a young man, I wasn't gonna be nothing. But after watching me grow and accumulate stuff that his sons couldn't accumulate, he said, babe made a man out of you. And he did, Evelyn. I wish, I'm gonna let you talk. But this is a story, this is a subject I can talk all day on.
You got a TV on there?
Every man
Go ahead.
that's living today would have lived in the house with my stepdad. Now, nothing against John. John's a great man. You're a great mother. Y'all have some great children. But I'm talking about apart from that, these children now, who's killing up everybody, robbing and stealing, standing on the street, passing cigarettes and all that kind of stuff. Let me tell you this, baby. They're trying to, I want to tell you these two things that I'm gonna hurt. Number one, they're trying to handle this gun situation. My stepdad had a gun, and I had a gun. We went hunting together. When we came from hunting, he'd hang his gun up over the door. And I kept my gun back there in the room. He would go to work. And he would say, boy, you had better not bother that damn gun while I'm gone. If you do, I'm gonna do something to you, so-and-so. You know whatever?
What?
Never bothered that gun. What am I saying? What am I saying? Dad does not want to be friends to their son.
Yeah.
They don't want to hurt their feelings. Some of them don't want their sons to work.
Wow.
That's the gun situation. Now, how do you stop all this other mess? Do just what you and John did. Put discipline in that home. If you don't put discipline back in his home, Evelyn, you can forget it.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say on that a little bit. I'm gonna let you. Where you
Well,
at?
Daddy, you know what? I thank you for sharing that, because one of the things that has gone is discipline, and people don't want to discipline their children anymore. They don't want you to discipline them. And I know I sound old fogey, but used to be a time that if an elderly person or an older person corrected your child, you thanked them for it. And when you got home, you doubly corrected your child, and you didn't allow them to talk about what a grown-up said to them to correct them. Nowadays, the parents encourage it, they allow it, and the children feel entitled to be able to say whatever they want to say to a grown-up about a grown-up, and the parents side with the kids. So I agree with your dad, and I agree that that is a big issue, and I don't know if we're going to ever be able to change it, because it's gone so far to where parents just feel like, our kids should be able to say what they want to say.
As long as you got that White House like it is, we'll never change it.
Yeah.
We will never change it. Your grandma and my mother and my stepdaddy and your grandpa could sit down and hold a conversation, and the kids better not butt in.
Yeah.
You better not, even though you know what they're talking, you better shut your mouth.
Yeah, they will tell you, get out of grown folks' business. Go
Get
outside
out of grown
and
folks'
play.
business. Go somewhere and play. Now sit around there.
Right. That's true. All right. So, Daddy, let me get to the next generation here. I'm going to come back to you, so don't go anywhere. But but you are so right. Okay, so now you get a good perspective of the parents that my parents were and what they were going through as a parent. Okay, now comes the next generation, which is my husband, Pastor Ogletree. So why don't you tell us about fatherhood coming up and what you experienced and what you see it as now? Talk to us.
Well, yes. When I came up, I did not have a relationship with my dad. My dad and my mom were divorced when I was 6 years old. My dad and my mother separated when my younger brother, Ethan, was born, right after he was born, and got a divorce. So I went through the time of 6 until I was 16 before I actually had a relationship with my dad. And during that 6 to 16, my relationship with my dad was a phone call, essentially. Rarely did I get to spend time with him. Every now and then, maybe during the summer, I would go and spend some time with him on his job. But it was basically when school started, call your dad, you need some money for your school clothes.
Mm-hmm.
When Christmas came, call your dad, tell him what you want for Christmas. When the birthday came, call your dad and remind him it's your birthday. Summer program or summer camp, call your dad. And my dad was always, would come through. He wasn't a dad who would promise and did not fulfill, but that's the basic structure of our relationship in that time. When I got my license at 16, I determined that I wanted something different. And my dad was a pastor, and I decided that that's what I want to do. So I would drive across town and attend his church, and that way spend some time with him and develop a relationship with him. And so from 16 on, we had a very solid and very good relationship.
Right. And I want to just jump in there and say I was able to meet his dad because when we started dating at 16, he would take me to his dad's church on Sundays. So I got to spend a lot of time with him, and we'd always get dinner at church after it was free, which that was very good. We didn't have a lot of money, so we'd eat dinner there with him. And I have to really give him accolades because he said when Pastor was young and foolish and he was messing up, and I had quit him and said, I am done with him. He said, can you just go to church with me? Just my dad is going to be looking for you. Can you just go to my church with my daddy just today? So I went because of his dad, because he and I had a relationship. And so he set me on his knee and he told his son, he said, son, this is a good one here. You about to mess it up. You don't want to mess this up, Dwight. He called Dwight. You don't want to mess this up.
Now, I can blame my dad. I can blame my dad. My dad is the reason why we got married. That is why because he said, no, you don't want to mess over this one. This is a good one. This is the type of woman that you marry. So that's what kept us together. That's why we ended up getting married.
Right. And he was able to talk to his mother, which is, was a little bit harder on me with my little mini dresses and so forth. But his dad was the one who would always speak up for me. Now, Marion, you need to let little girl alone. She's a nice little girl. So I really, really had a good time meeting him and getting to know him and having a relationship with him. And that's all because he decided he was going to start the relationship. His mother, they were still a little hostile there. And so that notice goes out to those of you that, if your mom or somebody's talking against them, the mother that's divorced or the father that's divorced, when you're of age, you need to try to seek to have a relationship with your mom and mother or father if they're not doing it for you. So thank you, Pastor, for sharing that. I'm gonna come back to you in a minute. Let's go to the next generation. Okay, so Pastor, pretty much the generation that he grew up and I grew up in, where the men were finally free. They had good jobs. They were really flowing and flourishing. And so they wanted to let the good times roll, and they didn't really want to be too much of a father or so forth. They were educated. They were, I'm thinking the ones that I saw, they were really trying to get education. They were trying to get their foot in the door and so forth. So Pastor, you talked about your dad, but for you as a dad, can you just say something what did you feel like when you became a dad? I know you were 21 when you became a dad.
Yeah, I too agree with Pastor Horn. I was a dad, but I didn't know much about being a dad. I mean, we were young and married. We got married when I was 21, you were 19. So the element of immaturity was lingering large. Mm-hmm. You are in something that you're committed to that you really don't really understand. Mm-hmm. Here comes a kid, responsibility, and you really don't understand the full dynamics of that. And so I think the thing that helped us and helped me was at least I was in the church, and I think your desire to make sure that our family worked, and then my desire to try to have something from the beginning that I did not have for myself in the beginning. It was a lot. It was a confluence of all of that, but still overshadowing all of it was you're young, you're 21, and you're trying to figure out how to be a husband now, how to be a father, how to make a living. And but it was great. I was glad to have a son named after me. My father, I was named after my father, and I was glad to have Johnny the Third, and to have a son, and then later on, short of 2 years in, here comes a daughter, Lamberty, and so there we were with 2 kids early on in our marriage, and trying to do
Trying
that.
to make it, trying to do right. I call
I
Johnny our
tried
guinea
my
pig. Yeah, I call Johnny our guinea pig. I think the thing that really kept us was our
Lamberty too.
ground. Yeah, both of them were our guinea pigs, and there were 7 years between Lamberty and then became Joseph and Jordan. So, but I think the thing that really kept us and kept you was our foundation. First of all, the understanding and the hurt from what you did not have as a child with your father, and desiring that, and then wanting to not be the same kind of fathers that we grew up with. We wanted to change. I know my prayer always was, God, give me a man who's going to be a real father to my children, and that we would all have the same last names. It was so embarrassing when my siblings would come to the classroom to bring lunch money or whatever, and one had one name, one had another name, and they said, "That's your sister? That's your brother? Y'all don't look alike." And so, it wasn't really their business, but I knew in my heart that I really wish that we did have all the same. Because when you look at it, you got to have a father coming over for this one, and a father coming over for that one. And then there's all kind of drama. You talk about baby mama drama. There was father, wife and children drama. It was a lot going on for children. So that was my prayer, and God did answer it. So I honor you today, honey, for being a great father to our children. So now comes the next one, Pastor Johnny. Okay, what was it like?
Yeah, I get it from Johnny, and you might want to let them grade me. Instead of
Well,
you,
they will.
instead of you grading me.
Go ahead.
Nah, short and sweet. Pastor was an amazing father, and my experience of fatherhood was great because I had a great person to watch, and so I was able to look at him and learn some things from him. Both when you see your parents, you learn what to do, and also you learn what not to do. And so I consider myself not very experienced as a parent, but well informed. But even though you're well informed by watching a great father, you still have a lot of things to learn. And so even though I had that great example and that great foundation, there's nothing like having the responsibility and the pressure of having your own child. And so when I had my first child, it was overwhelming, honestly. Just seeing the entire process, first of all, and then having that responsibility, the bills that came in, trying to figure out what to carry on from one generation to the next, what to shape, what to mold, what to add in, and to trying to make a decision on, those things. And it was very, very challenging because of a lot of which you have a lot of information, but you don't have the same amount of wisdom to accompany the information that you have. And so sometimes you do things with the information that you have without the wisdom. And then you look back and you say, you know what, I probably should have done that different, or maybe I should have left that the same. And that's because you have a lot of information, but not the wisdom that comes along with it. But at the same token, the thing that you do have that previous generations had is the Holy Spirit, and you have the teachings of Jesus, and the power and the wisdom that comes along with that, as well as the covering that comes along with that. And as long as you have that, despite your background, whether you were raised by a step parent, whether you were raised by your father in a single parent home, whatever the situation is, you can trust and believe that God is going to allow you to make some mistakes, but also that because he is with you, it will turn out favorable, and you'll be able to excel because God is with you.
Okay, and Johnny, one of the things that I'm trying, it's a lot of things that you were saying in there, but I think one of the things that I picked up that would be a nugget that probably you said was, you saw the model, you had the support, but it's like riding a bicycle. Until you get on that bicycle, you have to learn to ride it yourself, because but you do have a picture of what it should look like. The motions, and kind of you got somebody there supporting you, but you have to go through and learn how to ride that bike for yourself. And that's what's hard. It looks easy when you see other people do it. You say, I can do that, and I can even do it better. And when you get in there with real children, it's not as easy. And I know I told all of my kids, because they were wonderful children, but they were not perfect. We were wonderful parents, but we weren't perfect. And so I used to always tell them, when I would get upset with them, I said, you're going to have a child just like you. And I think, so you'll appreciate me more. And every one of them has a child just like them. Even Lamberty has a child just like her. So, but it does make you appreciate your parents, and know that it's not easy, that people do the best that they can. They only give you what they can give you. And when my father was talking about the fact that he only met his father when he was a grown-up, that's when I really got to know him as a grown-up. So he could only give me what he had. And so I had to take that and try to build from that, and not point the finger of that person not being perfect, because you're not perfect either. And we have to give our parents a lot more grace. Okay,
I would
Mr.
agree
Jones.
with that. And I would also add that one of the things that we have to remember is that every generation is changing. So the way your parents parented you, and the way you guys parented us, is not going to be that exact in raising this current generation.
Right. So different
And
generation,
so
technology and
every
everything.
parent has to adjust and to handle the situation that they see before them.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Let's go on to Joseph. Now, let me tell you the difference with the first two. Okay, Johnny, then Lamberty was like 18 months later. So they were really, really close. Boom, boom. We had 2 kids. And then we had 7 years where we had no kids, and we were able to kind of learn a couple of things and settle it down. And here comes Joseph. And I tell you, this was my biggest baby, 8 pounds and 9 ounces. And I tell you, things were different for him when he came into the world. And even as Johnny and Lamberty will say, that their father was a different kind of father. He had kind of settled down, a lot more mature, a lot more experienced. These were not the guinea pigs, so they had a more experienced father. So Joseph, tell me like what it was like with your father, and then what it's like for you to be a father now. He has 3 sons.
Yeah. So, I have nothing but, positive memories of Dad and I, and just the environment, like we grew up Cosby style, right? Because it was just it was perfect. It was a good home, good memories. And what I hear from Johnny, mimics what I remember of Dad. I guess my greatest thing is Dad, giving us that firm foundation of faith, right? He baptized me. He baptized all of us, I believe.
Right.
And now I realize how important it is to have that spiritual foundation, which as you grow, you're going to have challenges. You're still going to learn, as Johnny was saying. And as you said, Mom, you're learning, but that spiritual foundation it sets you up for success.
Yes.
So I'm very grateful for that. But I just remember Dad just being so amazing. Dad used to dress us in the morning. I remember he used to dress us.
He loved dressing his boys.
He used to, even going into high school, I feel embarrassed to say that, but he used to put me on these green pants that I just did not like. But he used to
matching socks.
Oh, matching socks and everything. But that's just how Dad it was. He served, and And so I have nothing but positive memories as dad, as a father. Now carrying that on to to me being a dad now, as Johnny said, man, you're learning, and you have different challenges, different parenting scenarios that you have to work through, different marriage scenarios that you have to work through. But even so, I believe that the foundation that dad gave me, he set me up for success. And so now with my three boys, and let me say one more thing. You never grow from needing your father, and I think that's one thing. I think I keep saying had, but I have, right? And as you get older, as you start to go through life and make big decisions, you still need your father to help you through those decisions, and also you're still watching how he carries himself, how he handles himself in front of people, and you're never at a moment in your life where you stop that learning journey. So I would say I had, but also have the great opportunity to continue to learn from my dad and continue to watch how he carries himself and in life. So that's been my experience as a growing up, but also being a father now.
Awesome. I'll go next. My name is Jordan. I'm the youngest, and I just like everyone else said, I have nothing but great memories of my father. Definitely led by example, and I appreciate him instilling faith in us. I think that's the biggest thing, instilling faith in us. One thing that we all have in common on here is that we are ministers. We are Christians. We're believers, and so I vividly remember the sacrifice and the time and dedication that my father gave to the ministry, and that was very important in me determining who I would become as a man. And then as a father, I've tried to lead my family in the same way, Christ first. Teaching my daughter how to pray. My son is still young; he's still learning words, but he sees what we do. Letting them see us worship, letting them see us pray together, letting them see me love on their mother and kiss her and praise, just honor who she is. And so I try to lead in that as well. And one thing that I'm still learning as a father, but one thing I did try to do was to speak over my kids from the time they were in the womb. And so each of them have unique charges and assignments that God put on my spirit for them and callings. And so I know my daughter's was to bring love and joy to the world. And I saw that from the time that she's a baby. I still see that now. And my son is to be a leader and to be a model and to draw people. And so I see that in him now already. And so those are things that I prayed and spoke over them. And it's interesting to see how that's come to fruition now that they are here. And so the last thing I would just say, just hearing all the different generations talk, one thing that God has put on my heart to share about fatherhood is not is more so about manhood, right? And that each man has to make the decision on what they are going to do with the situation and the information that has been presented to them. Grandpa had to make a decision on what he was going to do with the information or the situation he was placed in with his stepfather. Dad had to make a decision at 16 on what he was going to do with the situation he was in. I'm going to drive over there and I want to see my father. I want to make a relationship with my father. And each of us on this call have had to make a decision of what we're going to do. And I think one of the things that's tough with this generation is a sense of entitlement, and it's everybody else's responsibility and everybody else's fault. You can grow up in a great home with a great father and still make bad decisions. You can grow up in a home with great parents who give you the resources, who discipline you, and you can reject that discipline and wisdom. And so we have to honor each of the fathers that are on this call right now, because each of the fathers on this call stepped up to the plate and made a decision, whether it was early in life, later in life, whether it was after they made some hiccups, whatever, made some mistakes, but at some point they stepped up to the call of fatherhood. And I just think, the world needs to celebrate our fathers a lot more. Last thing I'll say, we hear a lot about mothers. The women's are always praised for what they do. The songs always talk about the mothers. Media, everything is all about the mothers. Mother's Day is biggest Sunday outside of Easter. And then when it comes to Father's Day, it's just kind of an afterthought. We have to celebrate those men who have stood up and represented what true fatherhood is, because it's rare and we're going to need that for the next generation.
Mhm. That was amazing. I mean, I'm just sitting here just thanking God, because Pastor and I really committed to ourselves after he kind of settled down. And the thing I would say with the women is, you got to hang in there and allow the men to grow up. You marry a man 21, 25, he is nowhere near responsible and mature enough to be the man that he wants to be. But if he's got good material, that you can work with, stop pointing out all the negative stuff and learn to forgive and to move on, because you need to be invested in there all the way and doing the different stages, as you can see here, that all of it, my men, fathers and husband and sons, said that maturity age in the 20s is very important. So don't give it away so quickly, because I think my dad said that about he and my mom, that if my mom would have stayed with him, but she was ready to go. She was like that lady said the other day, men are like a bus. Another one's coming in 20 minutes. So if that one doesn't act right, another one's coming. And so she was married 4 times. My dad was married several times, because that commitment was not there. We're going to be talking about commitment. We talked about it rather last week. And so I wanted to just say that, and just say happy Father's Day to my boys, and thank you for the wonderful men that you are. I can see the things that you're going through. They're not perfect or whatever, but I want to let it close out with my husband and my father giving those final comments, and close it too with you guys praying for the fathers for this year. And again, I say happy Father's Day to all of you. I love you. I've got to go to a meeting, and Pastor's going to close us out.
Hey, well, thank.
Questions and talks. I'm not saying like right away. Okay. All right. Love you guys.
All right. Thank you, Lady O, for having us on. And I'd like to just ask the boys, whoever wants to jump out and start with to close us out in this conversation. What are some things that you are learning about fatherhood as you progress and grow? What are some things that have been sticking out in your own experiences being a father?
I thought that Grandpa Horn started off great by reading the Book of Solomon, and it's important for us as fathers to not just provide money, but to actually create space to pass along wisdom. Jordan is right in that you have to sometimes suckle up to wisdom and chase it and pursue it and have conversations. But I also would say that sometimes fathers need to be a little bit more aggressive and responsible and dutiful in taking the time to sit down and to teach their children, their sons particularly, we're talking about Father's Day, and preparing them for what's to come.
What about you, Joe?
Intentionality. You have to be intentional. Nothing just happens. Like, you really have to take some time and think about, where you want to, where do you want to take your children? What do you want them to become? And then you have to be intentional, right? I think, working is just only one part of it, right? And I used to think that when I was young, that all I have to do is work and provide a paycheck to the family and we good, right? And but it takes so much more than that, right? Especially once they catch those teenage years, if you're not on the front end of some stuff, it's just going to kind of go by you. You have to be intentional and watching over and developing a plan for the family. So that's some things that I'm learning as a father.
All right, Jordan, jump in there.
Yeah, I would piggyback on that. Same thing, intentional, but I guess I would say the word that was coming to me was just be present. And I guess that goes with being intentional. As a father of a daughter and a son, I have to be mindful that fatherhood is not just me and my son, but I have to be a father to my daughter too. And so what she sees in me, what she's going to know what a man should be by looking at me. And so everything from not compartmentalizing what fatherhood is, like dads only fix the cars and dads only do this, but dads don't get out on their knees and play on the floor with their daughter. No, dads do that too. And so I'm just trying to be present. And like Joe said, our generation is very much work, accumulate things and stuff like that. And it's easy to not be present with your kids. So I try to be present and let my daughter and my son see what a father should be.
Well, here's one thing I have learned, and I want Pastor Horn to get in on this. I have learned and felt that my responsibility as a father is as important now with grown children than it was when you all were coming up. I still feel like I should be there, should give advice, listen, help out. It's like, I don't just say, hey, they grown now. They have their own families. I still feel that the burdenhood of fatherhood and wanting to make sure that each of you succeed. Pastor Horn, how about you? As your children have got grown, that relationship and fatherhood, what does it feel like now?
It troubles me, Pastor, because I wonder sometimes, and I wonder about your children too. Have they given you totally their heart? And listen, to be careful. I'm going to say something. Have they watched you? Or have they watched somebody else?
Well, I would say I believe that my boys and my daughter have, and I'm just as proud of them as I think any father could be. I am proud of my sons and proud of my daughter. I think they are phenomenal men, phenomenal husbands, phenomenal fathers, and I know each one of them are going to be better than I was, so I'm really happy about that. I really am. But like I said, I still feel like I want to do more, or as much as I can, and to help them be successful. And so I want them to know that is as great as the burden of fatherhood may be now, you're probably still going to feel it after your children graduate from high school and college and get married and start their own careers. It's probably still gonna be there. But what we've said is keeping that foundation of God and trying to love each other and support each other. I think that's what's going to get us through.
You're right.
And I won't say this in front because since it's just a man's thing on fatherhood, I think the key too is a good mom, a good wife, and that helped seal that family. God knew what he was doing when he was putting the family in. But don't y'all tell your mother I complimented her. This is just a man thing. She'll hear this later on. But I think all of my sons too have chosen some wonderful women, godly women, and they help to shape us and make us. Yes, Lord. So I think we're at the end of this. Anybody want to say anything that is just on your heart?
I've appreciated, definitely Grandpa Horn. We have our talks, right? And as he's gotten older, shared more stories, and I appreciate the stories, knowing our family history. Him imparting wisdom from us. I think that is needed. And I said earlier, you never grow from needing, your parents, your grandparents. And so, I appreciate that. I just appreciate just sitting down and hearing stories and getting that wisdom as I start to navigate life, because I don't know it all. I think all of us would agree. We have no clue what we're doing. We're just trying to learn and go as we go. We need that wisdom. So I appreciate that today.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Joe, because Pastor Horn, I want to tell you, every now and then I get jealous. I'm coming in, I'm wanting to talk to her, and she's talking to her dad. She's talking to her dad. So, and I thank you for that. Your relationship with Lady O has really blossomed in this latter stage, and it's really been great. Been great for her. Been great for our whole family. I think each one of my boys have enjoyed the wisdom and the time that they've shared with you. So it is truly icing on a good cake.
We need some more money, Grandpa. We need you to send some more money over here. So.
I got you covered, man. Listen. I thank all of you guys. I thank your family for recognizing me and giving me an opportunity to talk with you and listen to you talk. I can't feel as you all feel, because to your mother, I never was the father coming up that I wanted to be. And that's another long story, and that's where that immaturity comes in. If you don't know what you're doing, you might ought to do it, might not ought to do it. As the pastor said there a few moments ago, you got to have some listeners, got to have some cooperators, some forgivers and forgetters. So I thank you guys for giving them an opportunity to talk to you. As a matter of fact, I was a grandfather's baby on the Bagley side. Now, me and my grandpa was together, baby. We fished, rode the slide, and everything else together. So thank you so very much. Anytime I can share with you, I'll be willing to do it as far as I can. Thank you, Lady O. Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you. Now, will you close us with a prayer, and then we're out of here? Would you pray for us, Pastor Horn?
Holy Father, in the name of Jesus, we come this evening led by the person of the Holy Ghost, and we come asking a blessing upon this entire family, the Ogletree family, the father, the mother, and the children and the grandchildren. Give them a greater life. And make sure that the boys give daddy their heart and watch him because he's going somewhere. Bless us and keep us, Lady O. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Happy Father's Day to all the men who are watching, all my sons. Happy Father's Day. Pastor Horn, God bless you. And we're out of here.